That was the sound of cool tattooing.
Good morning. Good morning, all.
Good morning, everyone.
That is definitely the sound of a cool tattoo.
Fucking oath. Good morning, you fucking cunts.
Nice to be here with you, Grime.
Thanks.
Hey, Grime. How are you, mate?
Thanks for having me on this microphone show.
You bloody dog cunt.
We are sitting in at Spider Murphy's Tattoo in San Rafael this morning on a beautiful Monday morning. It's raining outside, so it's nice to be inside.
Oh, yeah.
Hanging out with Grime.
Hell yeah, dude.
How are you, mate?
Great, thank you.
Yeah, it's good to be here. In the infamous Spider Murphy's yet again.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
We're here for a second bout.
We're actually sitting in Theo Mendel's booth at the moment.
We are. I don't have a booth here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you just use his booth when you hang out?
No,
or?
I'm just like
Just
an orphan.
Float around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just take whatever booth's open.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the way, man.
Yeah.
Sick.
Oh, that's cool.
How long have you been working here now?
I don't know. I would maybe 2 years,
Cool.
year and a half, 2 years,
Sick.
like roughly. Like, I first started just doing like random guest spots. I started doing just kind of random guest spots here, and I did a little guest spot with Brian too at their
sick.
Shangri-La spot too, and just to do some local stuff because I live in San Rafael now, so I wanted to see these guys, I'm friends with, hang out, do a little tat with them and stuff, and it just ended up being a little bit easier for me here because they have shop people to help do stations and that kind of stuff, and it's a little bit easier overall for me to function here. So I just slowly started, like, maybe I would do like one tattoo a month here for the first couple months, and then maybe like 2 or 3 a month. And then I started, after we kind of figured out that, whatever, they were okay with me coming here, then we talked about doing a little more regular work. And so now I work here. I don't have a regular schedule. That's why I'm saying I kind of just plop in whatever station, because I don't have a regular schedule here. Basically, we book around people's availability to come here versus San Francisco, right? So if someone's flying in to SFO, usually we work on them in San Francisco. If they're coming from anywhere in the North Bay or somewhere in the East Bay, something like that, or if they're driving to SF from somewhere that's not too much of a longer distance to here, then we'll have them come here, both for my convenience and sometimes their own, right? Like if someone's coming from Santa Rosa, why would we both go to SF when we could both work here, and they drive half the distance and I don't, and parking and that kind of stuff. But,
yeah, for sure.
But I do love working at Seventh Sun in the city because I love those guys, and I take a lot of pleasure and pride, and I think I just gain a lot from working with good people, with good tattooers. So I like to work at shops and with people that I feel that is a good mutual benefit, and I think it's important for my career and for my overall kind of happiness with my tattooing and my general arc of my career. So I always seek towards something like that, and that's why I work at both these spots, I guess.
Fair enough. That makes fucking perfect sense. It's a hell of a crew and a hell of a lineup here. There's a lot of history as well.
Yep.
Yeah. And I feel like, who you are, you kind of are who you surround yourself with as well in your working environment,
Yeah, that can definitely be to a degree that's that case, and how much you're going to, let those people influence you, good or bad.
Yeah. And there's a pretty fucking influential people here, like Theo in particular.
Yeah. Theo's definitely he was the person that made me decide that I would like to work here. And it was the way he communicated with his coworkers, his employees, and he's a great tattooer, he's a great artist, but also he understands a lot about art. I think he understands more about art than I do in a lot of ways, and he's really good at communicating it, and I value that a lot because I can learn from it, and I think it's a good thing to be around, because it not only informs my own artwork, but it informs me and how I communicate with others and understanding about maybe some choices that I make in my art or see in other things and vice versa. And it's just, it's a good thing. I like it because, it's difficult to find people that you can really vibe with or communicate with and just share with like that,
Yeah.
It's not often that you just find people that are kind of working on that wavelength.
No, 100%. I feel like as well, there can be like great artists out there who are, not so great teachers and
Absolutely.
not so great communicators.
Absolutely.
But-
and there's also people that aren't great artists who are good at communicating certain things and they're not good at drawing. They're just not. Or maybe they're not. Maybe they're mediocre at drawing and mediocre and at tattooing as well. But they're still able to see things in your own art, in other people's work that has deficits, and they're able to point it out, and they're right. I learned that really early on in my tattoo career. Not really early, but pretty early, maybe like 5 years into it. And it was really like a eye-opening experience for me because I think to that time I figured if somebody wasn't better than me at art or better than me at tattooing, like what would I really benefit from them like critiquing or looking at my stuff or whatever, right? And I had a buddy who did that, who I didn't really consider, that good. And he was able to point out some things in my artwork that once pointed out, you're able to see, right? But until then, it's like you're blind to it. And that really opened my eyes and my mind. It's like, okay, like that's not the case. It could be anybody pointing something out. That like, oh, that's a little weird looking. And you're like, oh, how did it's so weird. It's like it appears. It's like almost they like wish it into existence. It wasn't there. They say it and then it's there. And you're like, well, that's fucking wild. How your brain works and how that's able to identify that once someone else is, pointing it out. So anyway, yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. It's like when you're like drawing up for a tattoo or something and your mate comes along, like, that looks kind of like a dick and balls, eh? And you're like, fuck, it does. Sometimes you just need like an outsider's perspective as well. Sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees with that kind of stuff.
But Jake told me that's pretty much what you draw. So
Yeah.
Dicks and balls all day.
Yeah. I try my hardest to make them realistic, but I don't know.
You need more veins.
Yeah. More veins, less veins. It's the wrinkles that are really tricky,
So it sounds like what Jake's saying is that your dick has a lot of veins.
Yeah.
It's cool you guys are so close.
They're throbbing.
We are sharing a bed.
Yeah, they're throbbing
Nice.
right now.
Yeah. We're like
You got a hostel or you got a hotel or what?
We're staying in the Utah Inn.
Oh, okay.
in Soma.
Yeah.
And it's wild, man. It's a wild place, bro.
Pretty rough, but it's nice,
Nice.
Hey, what's going on? This season of Rats Get Fat is proudly sponsored by Good Guy Supply. Based in Canada, they've been crafting top-tier tattoo supplies since 2006. Their commitment to quality and affordability is unmatched. I personally use their tattoo needles all the time, and I'm always stoked with the result. Should definitely check them out. You will not be disappointed. A massive thanks to the guys at Good Guy Supply for supporting the show. Now back to the episode. Yeah, we've been on the road a fair bit, so we're used to trying to cheap out and save a bit of money where we can.
Yeah. I've been there.
Yeah, dude.
I'd love to hear, Grime, about your story from like being a young man,
You
punk,
mean not a man, just a child.
a child,
A child.
interested in punk rock and skateboarding, and your process from, I don't know, getting interested in tattoos. Like, what happened in your life to kind of get you to this point, like from when you were very young?
I don't know. Good question. My father owned a skateboard company in the late 70s, and I got my first skateboard in 1978 at the age of 5. And so I was introduced to skateboarding really early, and I had, like, my skateboard was legit, right? It wasn't like a fucking piece of plastic with generic shit. Like, I had the full get-up. I had his board, which is called the Triton. It was a skateboard company for a couple of years. I had ACS trucks, Kryptonics wheels. I had Rector gear, like, whole shit. Like, I had adult elbow pads were my knee pads, right? Because I was so little, right? I had a Norcon helmet. All this is all like, old shit. But at the time, it's all stuff that, people, legit stuff. So anyway, I had that for a while, and I remember skateboarding and stuff. Not like, I didn't actively like make it my sole hobby or something. I was 5. But I remember liking skateboarding and skateboarding, but then, also riding bikes too. So whatever, right? And at that age, I don't remember having any kind of opinion about music per se. And then, I think there was a period while I was burned when I was 8. So it was a couple years of like, not a couple years, but kind of a couple years of like not doing much besides like being in the hospitals and recovering and stuff. It wasn't like a lot of like free whatever time to fuck around between school and that kind of stuff. But then, I don't know. I think some of it was a little bit driven by our economics, right? So my parents didn't have much money. And I remember really wanted a dirt bike, motorcycle, right? Couldn't get one, didn't have any money, but I like wanted one so bad. Anyway, couldn't get one. And then I don't know what happened. Like, after a while you just reconcile yourself, you're not getting a fucking motorcycle. And then I don't remember why or what, but I wanted a skateboard. So I got another skateboard. I think I still had the old one. And I remember skating on it a little bit, but by that time it's like, it's old, right? And when you're a kid, you don't give a fuck. If it's some old, you're like, it's like a narrow board from like the late 70s. And now the boards are wide. This is like 84. The boards are like big, like a pig board. And so, no one wants a little bitty board with like skinny ass trucks and shit. You want like big trucks. You want a cool board with cool graphics and stuff. I did anyway. And so I got a board, and I don't know. It just really struck me. I think there was a lot of freedom involved in skateboarding. I didn't have to. It was kind of like an anti-sport thing, in my opinion, in high school and middle school. Actually, I was skateboarding in middle school, and I think I was already rebelling. I don't know why, just rebelling in middle school, right? I remember I mail ordered from Triple M out of Thrasher magazine some Suicidal and Dogtown shirts.
Sick.
And I just really liked the art. I really liked all the Dogtown stuff and all the Suicidal stuff. And I had already gotten like Suicidal's first record on vinyl. Like that was one of my first records I ever bought. Actually, I think it was my first record. No, maybe Dead Milkman was. And then that one, and then like DI, Ancient Artifacts. I think those 3 records were like my first vinyl records. Anyway, I remember middle school, like the principal wanted to like suspend me or something for wearing my Suicidal shirt, right? And I was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm not taking the shirt off. Like, I don't care that it was because some kid's brother had killed himself. And I was like, yeah, I understand. Well, of course I didn't understand that. But in my brain at that time was, the rebel in me was, I understand that you don't want me to wear it because you feel that this is some kind of negative influence or an reinforcement of the idea that suicide or whatever. But I was like, this isn't what this is saying. And in my brain was like, my brain operated like this, and it still does to a degree, but obviously less. But, someone wants to kill themselves, a T-shirt isn't going to make or break that point for somebody. Okay. And so I was like, I don't know what to tell you, I'm not taking the shirt off, right? And I think they were just like, fuck. Just like, it's not worth it, right? Like, it's not worth all the hassle to like suspend a kid for wearing the shirt, because I think they were just like, whatever. They just were like, fuck off, So that was like, I think for me, skateboarding and punk were really intertwined. And I think that they were really intertwined in a rebellious kind of thing, right? And at that time, so at this time, by the time I had my first skateboard, my mother was already remarried to a guy who's very much a biker, right? My father was also a biker, but not in the same kind of like American biker brother way. He just rode motorcycles when he was young. He had a couple Harleys, and then he got some Nortons and some Triumphs and some other shit, right? Like, he had bikes the whole time. So I grew up, like, when I was 2 or 3 riding on a motorcycle on the gas tank. I would be on the gas tank like this in between my dad's legs on the bike, right? And we'd go for rides and shit, and I loved it. And then I remember getting a little bit older, maybe like 5 or something, to where I got big enough to where I didn't really fit good there, right? So I had to sit behind him. And when you're 5 and your dad's like a normal sized human, I'm on the back of the bike holding on my dad's waist, and I can't see shit, right? Because all I see is my dad's back.
Yeah.
So I'm just like,
This fucking sucks.
it sucks, right? Because you can't see, you don't feel the wind. Like all the sensation of motorcycling is like been, reduced a lot. So anyway, I'm sure that had some kind of influence on like, I don't know. I mean, I guess intrinsically I probably liked riding on the bike because I did, right? So he didn't convince me, get on the bike and have fun. I liked it for whatever reason. And so I enjoyed that. And so there's something probably there, right? Anyway, my mom remarried to a guy who's a biker in a very like traditional Harley American way. I used to go to Sturgis every year for the last like 35 years or whatever, like literally. I'm not even hyping that up. He went to Sturgis in 77, and he went every year until like 2000. I don't think he missed a year until like 2018 or something. From like 1977, he rode to Sturgis every fucking year.
Jesus.
Right? So anyway, and he always had Harleys, and he always had like these, people around that were like Harley guys, and he did everything, fucking grew weed and did all kinds of like shit like that was very much outside of the norm of American kind of like whatever traditional values, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And keep in mind, like, he was growing weed in like the 80s, right? So growing weed, selling it to people, that kind of shit. So he probably exposed me to tattooing more, right? So I went to Sturgis when I was 13 with them. And so I was exposed to Sturgis when it was like full fucking on, right? When we went there, it was 250,000 people were there that year, I guess, apparently.
Fucking hell.
It's like crazy amount of people. And everyone's tattooed. It's like, it's in 1985. It's very, very, it's not like it is now. Like I went there, more recently and stuff, and it's not the same. And I'm not going to say that I remember exactly what it was like or whatever, but you can just imagine, right? It doesn't take a lot of imagination to extrapolate that things in 85 are a lot different than 2025.
Yeah, 100%.
As far as like culture and how things operate and what's cool, what's not cool, what things happen, that kind of thing. So anyway, I was exposed to a lot of tattooing then. And even earlier than that, even before we went to Sturgis, when I was living with my mom and stepdad, he had the entire collection of Easy Riders magazines. So I would always look at them. Of course, there's lots of tattoos in Easy Riders. So there's something there too, right? And so anyway, and I was always like a creative kid, so I liked to draw. I didn't approach it like an occupation, I wasn't like, I got to draw today, or like, I got to draw today. It wasn't like that, but I would like to doodle, like to play. I don't know, I was creative in an overall sense, right? Some things it wouldn't be necessarily like, I'm just going to draw. It might be like, for the grip tape on my board, I'm going to cut it into shape, and then I'm going to make this other color here, and then I want to do this stencil to put on this part, and I want to make this thing or something, right? It wouldn't necessarily be like fine art, right? It's like crafty, creative stuff. And I probably didn't take art a little more seriously until I really started getting into graffiti and then furthermore tattooing, where I really invested into a more pronounced, practice of it. But through Easy Riders and being around my stepdad, who had visible tattoos on his forearms, I thought were really cool too. They were really cool. It was a dragon on one forearm and a tiger on the other.
Sick. And
then he had an upper arm tat of like a leather helmeted clad skull with like a weed leaf. I thought it was sick, right?
It's classic.
So I lived to ride, right? So I think it's his first tattoo. And so anyway, I thought that stuff was cool, and I like tattoos, and I don't know exactly, when this idea kind of came into my head, but I had thought I want to become a tattooer, right? And I didn't know this thought. I don't remember this thought being like well formed, probably until I was like 18 or something. And then after I started tattooing, I returned back to the town I grew up in, and I tattooed an old friend. And a mutual friend of ours had moved away like when we were entering high school, right? And they were a couple years younger than me. And I hadn't seen him since they moved away because they moved to like Tennessee or some shit. And we had kind of grown apart a little bit, and they moved away. It's like, whatever, you know, they're fucking gone. And I was tattooing my buddy in his parents' like basement, and he was like, hey, let's call our friend that moved to Tennessee, right? So we call him, and he's like, what's going on? He's like, oh, he's tattooing me. And he's like, oh, that's so cool. You always told me you wanted to become a tattooer. And I was like, I did? He's like, yeah. And I was like, fucking A. And then I thought about it. I was like, okay, the last time I talked to him was like before he moved. I was like, that would have been me at like 15 years old. I was like, at 15, I was telling him I wanted to be a tattooer, but I don't remember it. But I was like, well, it's true, because he just was like, oh, that's so cool. You're doing that now. You told me you did. So anyway, I apparently had this idea, at least since I was 15, that I wanted to become a tattooer. And I knew that maybe around 18 or so, I was like, I'm going to fucking become a tattooer. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get it. I'm going to fucking do it. And I was like, had this idea of where I was going to open up my little shop or whatever in this like basement of this building that my friend's parents owned. Because I was like, it could be cheap there. I could do it. And then I started like, you know, you going down the line of like what it takes. And then I got to the point where it was like, wait a minute, I have zero idea of how to tattoo. Like zero. I don't have a tattoo. I've never seen one done. Like, fuck, man, I don't know anything about tattooing. How am I going to start? So then I was like, fuck it. And I just like let it go for a couple of years, you know?
This season of Rats Get Fat is sponsored by Industry Tattoo Supply. In this day and age of e-commerce, we've never had so many options right at our fingertips. This also extends to tattoo supplies. And with so many options comes a choice, whether to buy from global entities or to support local businesses. This is where Industry comes in. They're an Australian-owned family business who pride themselves on taking care of not only individual artists, but the community as a whole. They'll supply you with both quality products and quality information. If you'd like to find out more about the way Industry is supporting local artists, be sure to check out their website as well as their YouTube channels. Link to both can be found in the description. Thank you, Industry Tattoo Supply, for supporting the show. Now back to the episode.
But I would always revisit this, like maybe 6 months or once a year. I'd be like, fuck, tattooing, fuck, you know, it would like come up to me, you know. So anyway, that whole time I was skateboarding a lot. Because going back to that, one of the reasons I think that skateboarding was really attracted to me is because it was a very solitary endeavor, right? I didn't need to have anybody to do it. I didn't need to have time or permission or location or anything. It was very free, right? I didn't have to pay. Like, you know, I snowboarded a little bit back then too, in the early 90s, and even like 89 I was snowboarding, and that's really early for snowboarding. Even the resorts in Colorado at the time, I think maybe only one of them allowed snowboarding. They were like, no snowboards allowed.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah, because it was like, to them, it was like skateboarding. You know, they were like, you guys are riffraff, you're shitty.
It's like scooter kids. Yeah, it's like scooter kids at the skate park.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but they're still fucking dumb. So, anyway, skateboarding was, it just allowed us to kind of, I think, be ourselves, you know, which is what I think a lot of schooling doesn't allow you to do or doesn't promote per se, right? It's very much like team sports kind of thing. And I'm not saying there's not value in like learning how to work with people to get a job done and that kind of stuff. And there is, but I think I pushed against a lot of that too, because I'd gotten, I don't know, you get grief from that kind of establishment when you're punk rock skateboarding, right? They're like, I can't tell you the number of times that like, so in Colorado, where we grew up in Western Colorado, like in the 80s, the number one derogatory word to use toward anybody for something that you didn't like them doing was faggot.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So it would just be like nonstop. nice skateboard faggot, nice haircut faggot. It would just be that all the time, right? And some of it's just like slang, colloquial slang at the time, right? But some of it was mired in real homophobia and like real homophobic hate because they were just like ignorant, redneck-ish, culturally fucked up people, right? And a lot of them where I grew up, they just were that way. And, you know, it was confirmed even like, you know, through a friend of mine who, I mean, we had some friends that were gay, like closeted gay in high school that like even I didn't know. Like one of my best friend's brother was closeted, and we didn't really know, but we suspected or whatever. But like, you know, like he's not getting like friendly hellos from people and shit. You know what I mean? They're like, ugh, or whatever, right? Just weird shit like that. And I know that another guy that when I was like just ready to go into that high school, I think our high school was really problematic too, to be honest with you, because it's weird. The movie The Breakfast Club really resonates with me, and it's strange because it's like a parody of itself, but that's what my high school felt like.
Okay.
It really felt like hyper divided into like squares, jocks, rednecks, handful of punk skaters. And then like we were also kind of coupled with the metalheads, but kind of not. Like yes and no, right? Like yes because we were outcasts, but overall no because we were too weird, maybe too weird or whatever, right? Because you had some of the punks that were like more like new wavy kind of, right? Like more maybe effeminate new wave, but wanted to like The Cure and Echo and the Bunnymen, not fucking Slayer, right? So they're like, fuck off, but they're also like, but we're all hated by the same kind of people because whatever, like, you know, the Hessian guys are going to smoke some weed and all the jocks are going to be like, you guys are fucking losers, or it's, you know, it's very like, it's like a parody of itself. And it's weird because when I talk to, like I have a good friend of mine who is just 1 year older than me. And him and I went to the same school for a couple of years. And he moved away and moved to the Eastern Slope, like right outside of Denver, Colorado. And he started going to high school there. And he was like, dude, it wasn't like that at all. He's like, where I went to high school then, he's like, it was nothing like Fruta. It was like normal. I was like, that's so fucking weird, dude. Because, like, I thought everyone's high school experience was like mine, right? Like, that's how your brain works kind of when you're young, I think. And that's how I thought. Like, everything was shitty. Like, everything was shitty. Everything was always like a fight. Everything was like whatever. Like, I remember my buddy that moved, like, this number one jock asshole, like, shoulder checking him in the hallway and knocking his books out of his arms and shit like that, just to be a dick, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember, actually, it was funny because my buddy is, like, super non-aggressive. Like, he's very passive, but he's like a normal sized human, right? He's 6 foot tall in high school, probably. So the dude that did that, and then like my buddy Nathan, like didn't back down or didn't be like whatever. And so that dude didn't fuck with him again. Right. And I was like, good for you, you know, like how cool. Yeah. But, yeah, he was like, it wasn't like that at all. Like no one gave a shit for skateboarding and I was like, fucking A. I was like, why did we get the shittiest school on the planet or whatever fucking happened?
Yeah,
you
what
know?
the hell?
But I think that reinforced me wanting to distance myself from that whole kind of environment of like codified existence in school and like how they wanted you to kind of be, right? So I rebelled against that very much. And so what that felt like to me was listening to music that was anti whatever top 40 shit was, and that resonated with me, the vocals and the language. You know, I really gravitated toward music that had a lyrical content. I liked the music too, but lyrical content for a while was like kind of paramount for me. So, you know, I was listening to like very social, anarcho kind of, it was Subhumans, Dead Kennedys, that kind of stuff, you know? As I got a little more introduced and a little more open into to punk. But, and skateboarding didn't have that codified, like, oh, you got to be on the field at this time and fucking practicing, and this is where we're going to do it. It's like, I'll do it when I want to do it, you know? Like, what? And I'll do it where I want to do it. I want to go skate that fucking, the worst curb on the planet, you know, for the next 6 hours straight or whatever, right? Like, I'll do it, you know? Yeah. So, I know it was really meandering, and I tried to, like, fucking scoop that all back together there, but hopefully I kind of gave you some of the answers you're looking for.
That's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah.
Because, skateboarding it's freedom, and it goes against these sort of social constructs that a lot of people do follow blindly.
Sure.
And, you know, I love the fact that like these kids that are like, no, fuck you. And I'm going to ride my skateboard. I'm going to wear a social distortion, like a suicidal tendencies t-shirt or whatever kind of fucking t-shirt they fucking want. And they won't take shit from no one. You know, I fucking love it.
Yeah.
I live my life in the same sort of vein. And it's really interesting that a lot of tattooers kind of followed that. And
Sure.
we're all kind of, we're past that now. You know, I'm not skateboarding anymore, I'm sure. Are you still skateboarding?
I haven't skateboarded too much now, not in the last couple of years, but I still like skateboard. I actually hopped on my board the other day
That's sick.
just to see, like, I was like, how does it feel? And I was like, oh, it feels good. And I like cracked a few ollies and I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I feel good still. So I kind of want to go just kind of rip around and do some shit.
Rad.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, it's sick. It's like I don't know, it's a beautiful thing that kind of lifestyle sort of sends us in a funny sort of direction, a very free life.
Yeah, I think so.
Of tattooing.
At least that's, you know, I mean, I like to feel that I've carved myself out of a piece of life that feels very free to me. You know, I mean, I think we all kind of trick ourselves to some degree or another to reconcile like what life feels like sometimes, but I feel like I have pointed my life in a very meaningful direction toward a freedom that I think many people unfortunately aren't able to get to.
Yeah. It definitely seems like that from the outside, at least. Yeah. That's fucking sick, though. I don't know. I feel like, yeah, skateboarding and tattooing kind of go hand in hand in that respect as well. They're both kind of counterculture, or maybe tattooing's leaning less.
They both are less, way
Yeah,
less.
they're like,
now.
it's definitely
It's okay,
become,
though.
yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, right? Like, it's not going to, how could anything stay the same? I don't think it could, you know?
Time marches forward. That's the way things go. But, you know, all we can do is make sick tats and enjoy it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
You know, just like, if it's authentic, I think has real meaning in your life, you know? Like if you're skateboarding or whatever you're doing, you know, like if you're playing football or whatever you're going to do, that feels authentic for you and makes you feel great about what you're doing and you're, you know, leading your life in a good direction and you're surround yourself with people that are good for you and you're good for them, then I think that's really what matters, the authenticity of life.
Yeah. It's like symbiotic.
Yeah, I think it can be, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool, man. Were you like, when you were younger, were you looking kind of, I don't know, where did you draw from artistically? You said you used to draw a lot,
I wouldn't say I drew a lot. I just drew. I mean, honestly, when I was a kid, I mean, the magazines and shit that I looked at, I hardly ever looked at comics, surprisingly. Like, I never was a comic guy at all, even though one of my best friend's parents owned a comic shop.
No
and
way.
he knew everything about all comics, right? But I think he wasn't so much looking at them. I think he was a little more, I think he valued more the storylines than he did the art. Not that he didn't value the art, but I feel like he dissected them more according to like the story and what it meant and how it looked versus like, you know, is that demon cool looking or like, you know, what's the drawing style of this card, you know, this comic. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, for some reason I never did. I'm sure it would have helped me a lot, but I didn't. Honestly, the stuff that I looked at the most would have just been like, fucking Easy Rider, dude.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, not to hype it up or whatever, but I looked at those a lot. And then after that, it would be Easy Rider and Thrasher magazine. Those are the two things that I looked at the most as a kid, for sure. 100%.
Oh, that's wild, man.
Because I ordered a Thrasher magazine subscription in 85, and with my first subscription, I got Fear's record More Beer. As like that was your gift in the mail, is a fucking the album More Beer from Fear, and that was one of my early records too, actually. I mean, I already had a handful of them for sure, but I was like, fuck yeah, I got to get this Thrasher mag subscription.
It's interesting because you said before that like Suicidal Tendencies was your first LP that you bought.
I think it was, yeah.
Like, what made you, like, out of everything in the record shop, you had so much option.
Well, hold on. I didn't have a lot of options. Where we grew up, it was a very shitty little, there was like one record store that had anything alternative. And so there wasn't a big option to pull from. I'm almost positive that I got Thrasher magazine first, and I would have saw something for Suicidal in it, either I saw a Suicidal skate sticker like on 3M stuff from like, or the Suicidal skateboard from Dogtown. It was probably that, and that's probably why I got the Suicidal, because I thought the art was cool, and I thought their whole gig was cool. I was like, I mean, I have a shirt, a Dogtown shirt that I got when I was in middle school, and I put a big V13 on the front, and I didn't know what V13 was, right? So V13 is Venice 13 gang. But I didn't know what V13 was. I know. See, I didn't know. I didn't know what it was. I just saw Jesse Martinez, who's a fucking, he probably was Venice gangster for a bit or something, pro skateboarder. I thought it was cool as fuck. And he had V13 on his board, and I thought it was just like something cool from like Venice skateboarding or something. And I was like, V13, that looks neat. It sounds cool. I put it in block letter, like big block, V13. And then I have like a school photo of me wearing this V13 shirt.
That's out of control.
But like, it's just in marker. But I didn't know. But it was something about like the whole Dogtown Venice thing that was just really attractive to me as a youngster. So I gravitated toward that. And I'm sure that it was probably driven by, they probably had some they probably had like an article about Suicidal, or at least I saw the Suicidal board and Suicidal skate stickers or something. And I was like, oh, I got to get that record. And then I saw, the first record has everyone's shirts with all their hand drawings on the shirts. And I was like, I probably thought that was really cool. So, because I definitely made some of those shirts too as a kid. Get a white dress shirt, draw a fucking Suicidal thing on it, wear it to a show, wear it skateboarding around, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's punk as fuck. It's sick.
Yeah, but I also didn't know that it kind of has a derivative like Cholo stuff.
Yeah. I
didn't understand it, but I liked that. Even though I didn't really, I couldn't identify the differences or anything.
That's crazy.
Well, yeah, it was like, I don't know, when we're young, we're so influenced by what we see.
Yeah.
And kind of what we hear, because like in the day and age that is today, that there's so much influence and stuff to look at, it's actually overstimulating. And
It's too much. It's too much information. How could you even fucking function?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It seems like we're all a little bit numb to it. But back then, when we were kids, when we had this tangible thing like a tattoo, like a magazine, like a Thrasher magazine,
right?
It was something for us. It was something special. And we put a lot more stock in it. We put a lot more value in it. We were just like, oh, it was everything. And then to then go and buy some like punk LPs or whatever, it's like it's incredible, and would have been a really special time in your life, I could imagine.
Yeah, and it was for sure. And also, kind of back to what you're saying is, modern stuff with overstimulation. I mean, when I would choose a record at the record store, man, it was like so hard, right? It's like, okay, I have money for one record. What's it going to be? What if it sucks? I'm going to have to wait like 3 weeks or a month or something to get another record.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be fucking bummed. And so I'd go to the record store and you just look at them and you're like, look at the covers. You look at the song tracks. You're like, which one's going to sound good? Because I didn't even know what these bands sound like. I had no idea. And there was a couple guys that were older that were like punkers that I would ask, luckily. And sometimes they would, one guy, Brian Black, I'd be like, which one of these? He's like, just get this one. I was like, okay, good. Oh, thank God. Someone made a decision for me because I don't fucking know. I'm going to buy a dud and I'm going to be pissed,
Dude. That's incredible. It would have been even more brutal and grueling if the one that he picked for you was a dud. And you're like,
Imagine that.
Yeah, I know.
Just
But
like,
he
fuck
was
with you?
cool and I knew he was cool. I also looked up to him, I think, a little bit because he was like a man, fucking big. He was strangely like one of those kind of people that are just naturally like really big. Like everything about him was big. All his bones were big. Like I remember him fucking beating the shit out of some people that like try to start shit with some punkers. And I was like, that guy's my hero. Because like I was always small, right? And like you get all the shit all the time and you're like, God, if I could just beat the fuck out of you, that'd feel so satisfying. But instead I'm just gonna eat the shit sandwich instead, like, you know, continuously, right? Because what are you gonna do, right? When fucking a group of guys is like, whatever, fucking calling, punking you or whatever, right? So, Brian was like, get this one. It was a DI Ancient Artifacts. It's a great record. And luckily, I liked it a lot too. But that, and then the magazine, right? You get a Thrasher magazine. How often? Once a month.
Yes.
Imagine if you got a new magazine every day, full of all the best tattoos from around the world.
It's too
They would
much.
pile up. You'd be like, I can't even look at this one. I can't even. But that's what like Instagram is, right?
Yeah, well,
Imagine that. Imagine every day you got a fucking magazine full of new tattoos you'd never seen. You'd be like, oh, dude, I'm too busy for that right now. It'd just be crazy.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of, I mean, I never thought about it like that because of what you just said. It kind of made me think about it in that way. But that would be fucking wild.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you have enough time to kind of like scroll through it like that, and that's it.
And it loses meaning. Like look how many great tattoos we see if we go on Instagram right now and scroll for 15 minutes. How many great tattoos are we going to see?
Fucking shitloads, man.
A shitload. And then they lose some value.
Yeah.
I think. Plus you only see them like this big and it's on a screen with not the colors or whatever, right? You can just adjust them or not adjust, whatever. All these things that turn them from like being like a very real tactile kind of three-dimensional organic thing, which tattooing is, and turns it into this kind of weird, flat, digital, like just
it's gross, man.
thing to eat. It's just weird. It's a weird one. I'm not a big fan, but I'm sure a lot of people aren't too.
Well, yeah, it's something that's really come up a lot on this trip. Actually, is magazines.
Yeah.
And how cool it was to have something that's like tangible. And I think it's also that delayed gratification as well. You have to wait for it, and it finally comes in the mail, and you go down to the store and pick it up, and then you sit there and you obsess over it for hours, and you leaf through, put it down, pick it back up again, and look, what was that one again?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like Mad magazines when I was a kid. I don't know how many times I'd read the same fucking issue.
I remember like early tattoo, like being interested in tattooing before I started. Going to liquor store. Fucking new Tat Mag out yet? No, not. Let's fucking go tomorrow. Nope, not out yet. Oh, fuck, it's here. And then you look through it and you'd be like, I don't know if I'm going to buy it, but there's a couple good tattoos in here. I'm going to buy it. And you look through, you're like, oh, I'm getting this one. Fuck yeah, this is sick. And then you might look through one and be like, fuck, there's nothing good in this magazine. And you'd be crushed.
Yeah.
Because you'd be like, cool, I got to wait another month. There's nothing good in this magazine. Or like good, right? And you just be like, oh, it's irritating.
Yeah.
For me,
it's
early
soul crushing.
90s, for me, I was like, fucking lame, dude. I was just like really, ravenous for good tats to see them. I was like, fuck, I can't believe I can't see this shit.
I think, I feel like that's kind of the norm these days. We're all fucking overstimulated. We just
How
get
could
that.
we not be?
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I mean, really, I don't want to get too deep in this because I don't think about it too much, but like, imagine if you were, the ages that we're talking about, right? When you're like 13, 12, 13, like 8, and it's just like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, like, how would your brain form in a way that like you valued like anything? Like everything would just be like, oh, that was yesterday. Oh, that was the day before. Or like that was last week. Like fucking whatever for that. Or like this thing's just like, seems like it would be really hard to have a like normal sense of some kind of reality.
Oh yeah.
Just like, and who you are, who you want to be, being influenced by all this stuff all the time, like everywhere, the whole planet, right? Because before it'd be like the thing in your hometown and like some magazines and whatever else, right? Now it's just like entire planet, whatever's happening over the whole fucking world, everything, good and bad, so you can make the world look terrible or you can make the world look however you want, or they can make it look however they want to for you to digest, right? Like it's fucking wild. I feel so bad for kids now, like how hard it would be to manage. And then all the things that you did when you're a kid that are goofy or weird or whatever, or like maybe bad, and then they're just They're just there enshrined for eternity on some digital fucking thing, and then their friends get shared, and they end up on a thing, and then, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
brutal.
We did some stupid shit as kids.
Of course we did. Every kid does, pretty
sure.
much. It just depends on how stupid, right?
Yeah.
Like, every kid's going to do something they're going to be, like, embarrassed of for a long time.
For sure.
Either accidentally or intentionally or whatever. They're going to be like, oh, my God, I can't believe I did that. That was so goofy, and maybe they can laugh about it because it was an accident. But some kids are going to be like, that was so mean. I can't believe I did that. I would never do that now. But, like, nevertheless, whatever spectrum that is in, it can be now just live forever. And that's fucking rough, man.
Yeah.
No privacy anymore. It's just like,
Yeah, that's a good point about the privacy of that, right? Like having the privacy to feel shame by yourself, right?
yeah.
Like that's what people want sometimes, and they feel bad. They're like, I just want to I want to have that moment to like work through my shit, and instead you have an audience for it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, fuck, this is no place I can go to just be by myself to like work through this.
Yeah.
Nah, there's always light on you. Like, oh, it's got to be just brutal.
It sucks, man.
Yeah, it's hard.
sucks.
It's hard for the younger people, I can imagine.
Yeah. You only have a set, I don't know, a few archetypes to really look at when you're a kid, you know, whether it's whoever's around you or what you see through media. Like, yeah, it would be overwhelming as fuck growing up these days, just having everything through a fucking lens that's been like edited.
Right, edited, right? So you're only getting like the best or the worst of everything.
Usually,
you're not
yeah.
getting like real stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Whatever's profitable, usually. Whatever gets more engagement.
Right. That's horrible.
Yeah.
And as you know, studies show, I guess, that people that we react more to like rage than we do good stuff.
Yeah.
Like naturally. And I think there's some weird thing attached to like apparently there might be a thing where it's you know, our survival instincts kicking in. So when there's something that like makes us mad, it's like we're more prone to react to it because it's like a lizard part of your brain that wants to like do something or whatever, I guess. Anyway, point is, yeah, bad stuff, right? Bad stuff gets more eyes on it and then reinforces bad stuff.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it's unhealthy.
It's fucked up, man. It's really
Yeah.
fucked up.
That's a great word for it. Unhealthy.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We digress.
We
A
digress.
little bit there.
Yeah. But how? So you wanted to become a tattooist.
Yeah.
But you didn't know how the fuck to do anything to do with actually tattooing.
Nope.
How'd you end up getting into it?
A buddy of mine started, right? I'll go back to the little town we were in. There was one tattooer in it. His name was Iron Mike. He was a biker, had a shop. You know, it's weird looking back on it that I never asked my stepdad to like, I didn't ask him more about his tats. I mean, I asked him who did him and stuff and looked at him a lot, but I never was more like, I want to get tattooed or I want a tattoo or whatever. I didn't do that with him. Or I didn't say, hey, I want to go to this tat shop. Will you take me? Because my stepdad's like a big, strong biker guy, right? Like very much like a guy that, you know, I wouldn't be afraid to go anywhere with, right?
Yeah.
And he would be my fucking segue into, you know, talking to Iron Mike at his tat shop as an underage person, right? I could go with him and I wouldn't be all like intimidated because Alfred fucking probably speaks the same language of him and he wouldn't talk shit to Alfred or whatever the fuck. Who knows? Maybe Iron Mike's the nicest guy ever. I don't know. You know, I never met him. Anyway, so anyway, my buddy, I think he might have turned 18 or he got like a fake something and just like went and got a tattoo.
Sick.
And it was a little sun, like a 4-pointed sun. And I remember I was like, he came back and we were skating this curb, ironically. We were skating this fucking shitty curb. And me, Roger, and him. And we all moved to Arizona later and that's where I began tattooing. But when we were in Junction, he came back and I was like, let's see it. You know, I was all excited. Fuck, this guy got a tattoo. He's the first guy from the crew to get a tattoo. And he pulls up the little bandage on his shoulders, right on his deltoid. And I remember looking at it and going like, huh. And I don't know if I said it to him or not, but my brain definitely said, I can do better than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I already knew it. When I saw that tattoo, I was like, that's not that good of a tattoo. I can do better than that.
Wild.
Yeah. And so that like gave me some kind of confidence and probably like really got the juices going again. Anyway, then again, back and forth between like, that's cool, I want to do it, until like, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it, right? I don't even know what a tattoo machine looks like. I don't know anything. Went to college. A buddy of mine who I skateboarded with, and we moved to Arizona, kid that I skateboarded with, he got a kit in the mail. And I had already been like, you know, we'd already talked about tattooing or whatever, and he fucking did it. And I was like, oh, fuck, you're going to start tattooing. And I was like, oh my God, I wanted to do that so bad. And he's like, you know, you can still do it too. And I was like, no, man, I don't want to like get in it on your shit.
your thing,
like,
dude.
You just started that. And I remember being really bummed, right? Like, and also probably jealous that he just had the nerve to do it, right? And I didn't do it. I was like, fuck, man, he did the thing I wanted to do. That's cool for him. Lame for me because I didn't follow through on this like thing that I wanted to do, right? Like I should have done it, you know, regardless of him. Anyway, he started tattooing, and he had been doing it for like a year and some change maybe or something. And then I remember going to him, I was like, Chris, you gotta fucking teach me. Like, I'm dying over here. Like, I'm dying, I gotta do it, right? And he's like, all right. And so he let me color in something on his wrist. And then it was just already done. He's like, just recolor it. I was like, okay. Oh, and, you know, as a side, there was a guy who there was this guy named Rex Cook who was a really ripping skater. And he was kind of like local skate hero for a moment. And he was all fucking, he already had like sleeves and stuff, right? And we were like, this guy's cool as fuck. And he rips. And so I think he was like an influence, like, how cool is that shit? Fuck yeah, ripping skater all sleeved up. This guy's sick. Go skate his backyard pool with him or whatever. We like barge a fucking house, go skate some pool. He's doing like inverts and fucking Madonnas and shit with no pads in a pool in a backyard. We're like, this guy's gnarly. Like,
Holy
so it was cool, man. It was really cool. It was like, this guy's sick. So anyway, and anyway, he was actually like, he was pro for a little bit too, Rex Cook. He was super sick.
Right.
And he was super nice too, really nice guy. And he had just gotten out of jail. When we met him, like when we finally met him, we knew of him. We were like, oh, this guy Rex, he's a rip, like he rips and has tats and shit. And then we met him, but he had just gone to jail for like trespassing for skateboarding stuff. He wasn't like a fucking criminal or anything. He just, you know, got hemmed up for too many like trespassing tickets or some shit for skateboarding in pools and stuff like that. But so anyway, Chris let me color in the thing, and I was like, oh fuck yeah, like this is sick. And then whatever, like 2 days later, he's like, I'm going to Alaska to work on a fishing boat for like 6 months or something. And I was like, cool. It's like, fuck, what do I do now? And so then I just continued doing what I think I was just going to college. And then when he came back, I was like, oh, you're back. Let's go. You know? And so he did. He fucking was like super generous enough to teach me how to tattoo. And he's like, you know, he was self-taught, so he didn't know a lot, but he obviously knew a shitload more than me. And at this time, I'd already been tattooed a few times by people in tat shops. We had been to all the tat shops in Phoenix, basically. Like, we went to all of them. When we first got to Arizona, me and Roger and Jake, we all loved tattoos. So we're like, oh yeah, now it's not just Iron Mike's. We can go to fucking Crawling Squid. We can go to fucking Artistic. We can go all these places. So we would just drive, go to there, you know, and the next time whenever we would all have the weekend off or whatever from work, go to another shop, go to 2 shops. Just like go in, see them, see the flash, and
Rad.
meet the people or whatever, right?
Just hang out.
Yeah, we just wanted to like soak it in or whatever. So, yeah, and so Chris, you know, luckily for me, and he was generous enough to teach me how to tattoo.
Sick.
Yeah, it was real sick.
Oh, that's awesome, man. What were you studying in college?
You know, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I was just taking general education.
Yeah.
So I when I was in high school, I liked art a lot. I took every art class, but I was also, it's kind of weird. I like, you know, they usually don't line up, but I was also really good at math. So I took all the advanced math too. I took trig and calculus and everything in high school. And when I got out, actually in high school, I remember taking an art class, and there was these 2 people, a gal and a guy, and they were fucking good at painting, like really good. And I remember thinking, oh, these guys are really good. Maybe there's not a place for me in the art world, you know? And also going back earlier when I was when I was like 15, one of the kids I used to skate with that lived down the street from me, it was like us 3, me and the kid that the parents owned the comic book spot, and then Chris. who lived right around the next street from me. We would all skateboard and we'd listen to punk rock and stuff, and it was cool. And luckily for us, Louis's parents owned the comic book shop, but Louis's older siblings, Mary and what's his brother's name? Larry. Larry was closeted gay guy.
Okay.
And who was into, I wouldn't say punk, but like, new wave, just different shit. But Mary was like, kind of like queen of the punk scene.
Sick.
Because, I think really it came down to her. She had a lot of intellect. She was very smart, and she had a lot of good taste, understand stuff. And she was also probably 5 years older than us. So she just had a better vision of what things were and how things operated, and more experience and everything else. So she was a big influence on the whole scene at that time in Junction, because of her smarts and taste and everything else. So she was influencing all of us. So anyway, luckily through them, even though sometimes we thought they were kind of like lame because they're older and would treated us like we're idiots because we were. But we would all skateboard, and Chris was a really fucking good artist, like naturally really good. And I remember drawing a thing. It was for like a book report, and I had to draw it was like a giant's hand squishing a dude.
No way.
Right? And I was like having trouble drawing it. And I was like, Chris, can you draw that? And he's like, yeah. And he drew this fucking super good hand squishing this person. And it was like, it looked like a comic book drawing, like good.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that dude is, I knew Chris was better than me, but like that was like a really strong point, like human anatomy with emotion, expression, and really good. And I remember making an impact on me, and I thought at that time, fuck, Chris is already really good. There's probably only X amount of slots for artists to make a living in the world. He's going to take one of them for sure. So if they already have Chris, what do they need me for? Who's like, a couple steps behind him, right? And so that's actually why I think I focused a little more on math when I was in high school. And then like maybe I loved art, but I saw my talent is a little bit less than some of the standouts. And so I figured, well, fuck, I'm good at math too. I'll just do math stuff. And then I went to college and I started taking some advanced math stuff. And honestly, it was a little bit harder than I thought. And I also lost a lot of interest in it because I thought, what the fuck am I going to do with math? No, really, I remember having this exact thought, and this is why I didn't do more. I was like, okay, I'm good at math. I'm not fucking great. I'm not a genius. So I'll never be another Pythagorean who created Pythagorean's theorem. I was like, I'll never get to a point where I'm going to create some equation that's going to have my name on it. That's what I thought. I was like, Pythagorean, me, nope. And I was like, there's no point in it then. That's what I thought. There's no point in math if I'm going to do that. If I can't do that, what am I going to do with math? It doesn't matter. What am I going to do? Fucking accounting? I was like, fuck it. Who cares? I don't want to do that. I was like, fuck it. I'm going to do art because that's what makes me happy. So I realized at that time that I had to just let that other stuff go and just focus on art. And at the time I was like, I don't know what it's going to do. And I don't know if I can make a living with it, but it makes me feel the best. So that's what I need to do.
Fuck yeah.
So that's what I did.
Yeah, man. It's
Awesome.
Man, I really resonate with that as well. Sometimes, I guess you reach that age and you reach like kind of a crossroads, whether you can do what you know deep down you're passionate about or what is probably practical, I guess.
Pragmatic, yeah.
And most people, I guess, choose the pragmatic or practical option.
And it's smart for most people.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, right? Because like, cool, you want to, follow your dream and then be, on the verge of homelessness the whole time or whatever. Like, I'm just saying, like, sometimes certain amount of economical comfort is very valuable.
Yeah.
So I can see in some points it makes sense,
Yeah.
Especially if you don't have a lot of drive and discipline, you can't really follow your passion.
For sure.
If you don't have drive and discipline, your passion is not going to do anything for you, particularly.
100%. I've always held the belief that anyone can really learn art. It's a skill like anything else. but you've kind of got to be fucking obsessed with it to actually get anywhere with it.
Yeah.
There are people that are naturally inclined and naturally talented, and they skyrocket early on, but if they don't develop the right
Correct.
patterns and the right, discipline, they fucking plateau.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
But also, even no matter how much someone works, if you don't have that fucking magical it, it's like you don't have it.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
yeah,
You can see it when somebody has the it. It's just it's got a different thing. It's like they're just plugged into a little different space, even if you're working your balls off on all your craft the whole time. Like there's something else there.
yeah, they're wired a bit differently.
Yeah, there's something about the art that they make when they have the it. It just resonates differently.
It's interesting,
I think.
But yeah, I think I think hard work is super important too, and it seems like
100%.
I think it's that really shows itself with your work. Like, I feel like I look at your stuff and it's always just like focused on trying to improve and like
Thank you.
see where you can go with it. Really,
That's exactly how I think about it too, honestly. All the time, thinking about like, what am I going to do to make this thing better, or like change it, and kind of like get myself involved in it more to see where I can go with it.
yeah. I think it's like it's always important to have like a bit of carrot and stick as well. Like some people are fucking too harsh on themselves and
Yeah.
hate their work and
That was me for like a decade solid. Yep.
yeah. Sometimes it can be a bit destructive.
Oh, it's super bad.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah,
No, it wasn't good for me.
100%.
I mean, it's good in the end, like for now, but for a while I was just like so unhappy with like 98% of my tattooing. Like I didn't like any of it. I would be so critical of everything that I did. It'd be like one fucking thing that was a mistake, or even one thing where I made like a color choice I didn't like or something, and I'd be like, fuck it. Whole thing fucking sucks. Fuck it. It's a write-off. Maybe next time.
Yeah.
It was not good. And then I would just feel like shit because I poured, like my whole identity was tattooing basically. Like my whole focus of life was tattooing. And then I put all my energy and thought and care and fucking everything into it. And then it looks like that. Yeah, it was really like, just made me feel like shit.
Yeah. Makes you want to burn the world down, I guess, It's fucked.
Yeah.
But yeah, would you say you're still like super focused on tattooing, or is like, of course you run Black Claw or co-run it. Would you say that's taking up a lot more of your focus these days as well?
I wouldn't say a lot more. I mean, I tattoo a little bit less now, but some of that, honestly, that was a COVID thing for me. COVID came, we couldn't tattoo for a few months, and then we could for a little while, and then we couldn't, but we did anyway. And then I think during that time, I remember thinking, man, I don't want to tattoo for more than a third of my time.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's exactly how I thought. I was like, if I'm sleeping for a third of my day, and I'm going to fucking spend the rest of it, like, in-betweens or whatever, I was like, I don't want to spend the other third only tattooing. I was like, I want to do other shit. I want to create art outside of myself. I want to fucking hang out with my lady. I want to hang out with my dogs. I want to see the world. I want to ride motorcycles. I want to have fucking downtime. I want to do something. And so my assistant, Nikki, she used to work for me at Skull and Sword. Sorry. She's awesome. She helps run my whole fucking program.
Rad.
But I told her, I said, hey, I only want to tattoo a third of the month. 1/3. That's it.
Okay.
I'm not tattooing more than, fucking whatever.
More than you have to, really.
I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. I already did it before. Like, that's all I did for the last, whatever, fucking 5 years. I was like, I don't want to do that same rate. I want to do this other thing. Plus, Black Claw does take up some time. There's just no way around it. And so I thought, well, I just don't want to have, I love tattooing a lot, but I don't want to have it be my only thing. That's not what I want to do. I don't want to just, that's my whole life.
Yeah. It's important to like diversify and like, I don't know, enjoy multiple facets of life, not put all your eggs in one basket as well.
Yeah, I think it's healthier. And those other things augment the other ones, right? So sometimes it makes each one stronger.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was actually the COVID break that made me change my schedule. So now I just work 3 days a week.
That sounds nice.
It's great. I love it.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And then, I work on Black Hall a lot with Wes, and we do a lot of work. And it's a super small company. I told you earlier, we have 3 employees, me, Wes, and Austin. So
sick.
it's not like, it's not some big fucking corporate conglomerate or any of the other shit.
Yeah. How'd you really get into starting Black Claw?
Some friends of mine wanted to start a needle company, and I said no. A couple years prior, I was actually going to start it by myself, probably 2.5 years or so. And man, I got pretty close to it, and then I had some kind of like flash of reality come down on me, and I was like, "What am I doing?" I was like, "I can't start a needle company. I don't even have time to run my tat shop and tattoo and all this other shit." So I was like, "Fuck, what am I? I'm stupid." And anyway, then they approached me and they're like, "We want you to do it. We want you to just do some of the stuff. All you got to do is the artwork." And I was like, "I ain't got time for any of that shit. I already decided not to do that earlier, And anyway, so I acquiesced at some point, and that's how it started,
Sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been good.
It's nice. It's nice being able to actually, manufacture and customize shit to your needs as well. I guess, if you need a specific needle, it would be cool if we had this.
Yeah, I think more so it was about making stuff that was actual professional level stuff, that we had, when I learned how to make needles from Marcus Pacheco, we would order needles from Hemmings from the UK and get those, and we have jigs and solder them and do the whole fucking thing, right? And when you first learn, you think it's really cool,
Yeah,
right? And you're doing it and stuff, but after a while, you're like, holy shit, it's kind of a drag. But especially, man, I remember making a bunch. We made a bunch with some carbon needles, because they pack color better or whatever, and we knew that they were prone to rust or something, but we're like, if you dip them in green soap, it'll stop them from rusting.
Oh.
Instead of Vaseline or something, right? Or glycerin. Dip them in green soap. So we did that, and then autoclave them all, and then they all fucking rusted. And I was like, motherfucker, I fucking, you spend 2 days making needles, and you're like, these are gonna be sick, and then you're like, fuck me, they're all rusted. And so anyway, sometimes the making needle part was a drag, but there was no 316L needles being made by any of the manufacturers, by anybody making needles. It didn't exist. It was all 304 or lower quality, which is a really shitty soft needle. And so that was one of the major things that we wanted to do, was make an actual professional level tool, not just a make money business guy fucking tool.
To actually help improve the industry of tattooing, and
I mean, we wouldn't have if everything wasn't just, the way it is with outside manufacturing and outsourcing.
Yeah.
But because it is, then I guess you could say we did. Yes, we did. Because like I said, no one else did it before, and then some companies now copy what we did in that regard, right? Mm-hmm. But prior to all the outsourcing and manufacturing, then of course everyone made their own, so they could choose the quality needle that they wanted to make, whatever, up to them.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's at least it's good. The standard of needles has kind of risen because of that as well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, some people don't care, and that's a prerogative, right? And I get it too, honestly. If you're gonna do a 20-minute walk-in tattoo, 304 is probably gonna be fine. But if you're doing a longer session on anything, you really need a good needle, because they get dull, they wear on a tube, they just don't work the same. They just don't work the same. They just don't.
Yeah. That's important. It's only going on forever.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? People, it all depends on the importance of what people value, right? If they value good machines, they should probably value good needles. If they don't value a good needle, why have a really good machine if your needle is pretty shitty?
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
You could have a mediocre machine if your needle's good, and still probably work a little bit better than like a good machine with a shitty needle.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, like, I guess, you know, a good artist can create a great tattoo with any real tool, but like,
Right.
it doesn't fucking hurt to have like some good quality shit.
Yeah, you know, and this, to me, it's like this is like an overarching like thing in life, I think, which is, you know, if you want to succeed, set yourself up for it.
Yeah.
You know, like don't make it hard on yourself to have a good result. Like if you're going to enter into whatever it is you're doing, like set yourself up for fucking success. And you can do that by getting good tools, good pigments, good machines, doing your homework first, fucking thinking about conceptualizing your tattoo, like working with good people, like everything, all those things all come together.
100%. You know, it's like, it's all the micro changes that really add up to create something that's just like, you know, overwhelmingly positive and helpful.
Yeah. And dare I say, can be a lot easier.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there's no reason to put fucking speed bumps up for yourself if you don't have to.
But most people do I think, and just it's out of ignorance and just lack of care, right? It's not because they're like actively saying, fuck it, I don't care. They're doing it because they're unaware or they just are a little lazy.
Yeah.
You know, one of the two, right? Like they don't know, and that's, you know, no fault of their own necessarily.
Yeah.
Until they learn about it, or they're just like, fuck it, they're too lazy to do it, which I just don't value that in tattooing. I think tattooing it should be a pretty serious endeavor. I think really you need to care about tattooing, and I think the more you care about tattooing, the better it'll treat you. But
Exactly.
that's just been my result. So, you know, that's my kind of world.
Yeah.
It's a little myopic, but
I think, it always depends on where your motivations lie.
right.
You know,
Right.
what you're going to prioritize. And if it's your motivations lie with making a good fucking solid quality tattoo, then you're going to do everything in your power to make that, aren't you? Like,
I think some people do, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know, whether that's not showing up hungover or fucking doing a bit of fucking background work the night before and like
Right.
preparing yourself.
Being prepared, right?
Yeah.
You're not showing up in the moment and going like, what are we doing again?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that shit's so fucking lazy. To me, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's wild. There are some artists that seem to thrive on that like, I don't know, just doing it then and there and like
Sure.
throwing something up. Personally, I don't know. I can't really do that. I feel like,
Yeah. I think there's a mix, right? Like there's some people that do that well to a degree, but they don't always do it well. And I think furthermore, those people are definitely talented, but what could they do if they planned?
yeah,
You know? Because if they're pulling that off, how much sick shit could they be doing if they actually put in more effort, right?
yeah. Well, they're like fucking totally.
But I don't know.
bottlenecking.
It's a hard one, right? Because sometimes you can only do that. That's all you can do, right? If you do more, then you just burn out and you can't even like make it. So it is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not against like, you know, fucking doing your best in the moment, right? Because sometimes it's all you have. But I think as a general rule of how to approach whatever occupation or fucking hobby you have, if you want to be like, if success means doing something really well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know, put your effort in, and I think you'll be rewarded with good results and probably like just a better kind of happiness in your life because, you know,
Yeah. That's the reason we fucking do this at the end of the day, you know?
it's a big part of it, man. It's
Yeah.
a big part of it, right? Like we want to make ourselves happy. We want to provide like a cool service for people. We want our clients to be super happy. And that's one of the things that, you know, the selfish, myopic, fucking egotistical me didn't see early on, which is like the service that we provide and like that people really rely on us to care, right? To care and to like put good effort and care into their work and not just be like, it's cool.
Yeah.
You know, like, fuck. They're like, really? It's cool, huh? All right, fuck. You know, like,
Well, yeah, I guess like sometimes, yeah, a lot of us, it's hard to stay like, I don't know, what's the word? We get dulled after a while. It's like with Instagram and everything, we're overexposed to tattooing sometimes. And when you do something every day, day in, day out, sometimes it can become like almost menial. But to the client, you know, it's like the biggest part of their fucking world at that time.
It's a great point. Really great point, right? Like for us, you're just grinding out, like whatever. Maybe you're just doing the same kind of like whatever over and over and over.
Yeah.
But each person that comes in, it's like that's the whole fucking thing for them. Like this is new, this is cool, getting work by somebody they like, or they're going in and they're maybe they don't even know the people, right? There's tons of people who get tattooed by people they don't know.
Yeah.
They just walk into a shop, they think the shop's cool, they think a piece of flash to have on the wall is cool, and they're like, this is gonna be fun, and you know, they have a good time and they get a tat that they want, and that's great too.
Yeah. No, it's really important. A lot of the time as well, we've found sometimes it's not even about the tattoo as well. It's like about the whole experience of getting it.
Yeah.
You know, you're sitting with a person for hours, you know.
It's hella intimate. You're grabbing them the whole time.
Yeah.
Inflicting pain.
It's the most
trying to manage like the relationship of like, are you okay? But trying to have fun and trying to do this thing, but like also have it a bedside manner and make sure, are you gonna pass out? You shit your pants on me or what? Like, you know, like a lot of stuff happens.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Have you ever had someone shit their pants?
No, my coworker did though.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. It's
Passed out. Like Tim Lehigh.
Oh, no
Dude
way.
was getting tattooed, passed out, and then like came to and was like, I gotta go to the bathroom, and like ran into the bathroom, and they're like, what the fuck? And then like whatever, a couple of minutes later, comes out of the bathroom, was like, I gotta go, and just left with like whatever part of the tattoo done or not done. And they're like, what the fuck?
Oh
Yeah.
man.
And then later on, whoever was cleaned up the bathroom, whatever, was like, someone's shitty underwear in the trash can, I guess.
Oh, poor fucker.
Poor fucker, right? Yeah, you never going back to that shop to get that thing
That's
finished.
so grim.
Brutal, right? Brutal.
Or you go in with like a big pair of sunglasses and like a fake mustache.
Hey, mate, I
Just want to get this one finished.
And I'm like, Jake, I know it's you still.
I recognize the tattoo man.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, I've only had dudes puke
Oh, yeah?
after they passed out. Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Luckily, got them to the bathroom.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't feel good. I think I'm going to pass out. And you're like, okay. And then like, they kind of like get all like, ugh, and they come to, and they're like, I don't feel good. And we're like, let's go. And like, you're like helping to the bathroom. Get the fucking bathroom.
Get the fuck in there, man.
I'm not going to have you puke out here. Puke in the toilet.
Yeah.
Shit.
We'll usually grab them a bucket.
Yeah,
I'm like, just stay
That's
sitting.
smart. Trash can, yeah. That's
Yeah.
smart.
Just stay sitting. We'll grab your bucket. I'll cool them down with some like green soap on their forehead or whatever.
Green soap on the forehead. That sounds horrible.
My eyes. it's like do you know the movie Major Pain? And the guy like he's like dying of like he's been shot or whatever, and he goes, "Let me show you a little trick to take your mind off that pain." And he takes his finger and he like breaks his finger in half. He's like, ah!
Let me take a look at that. Let me see, little trick. Take your mind off that arm. You may feel a little pressure.
My finger! My finger!
Give it time.
A little bit of green soap on the forehead.
Yeah, in the eyes.
Nah,
Like,
Yeah.
fuck.
I don't know. Well,
they're not thinking about being sick now.
Bro.
No.
Well, tattooing's it's a pretty brutal thing at the end of the day. I think we forget that sometimes.
Yeah, especially long sessions, man. They're rough. Like you got to be ready mentally to accept getting tattooed for a few hours. Like it's gnarly,
dude.
And I think as tattooers, I know I do. I forget that sometimes, because I'm focused on like, okay, fucking bang this thing out. Like I like to tattoo fast, so I'm like want to get as much done as we can. I want a least amount of pain, but I want to get as much as we can because the faster we get it done, the faster it's done. The less amount of pain in essence, right? So. Yeah, but then you forget like how gnarly it is. I'll remember doing some shit on somebody and you're like, God, they're tough. This fucking must be brutal. Like not in a mean way, but like going like, fuck, man, like these dudes are tough. That's amazing.
Dude.
Some people do handle it better than others.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, it's wild.
Usually it's women. Women tend to handle it way better, I've found.
Yeah.
I'd say mostly, yeah.
Yeah. It's always like the big tough cunts that walk in like,
Oh, they're fucking horrible.
Bro.
Horrible, right?
Oh,
Those
man.
guys are usually the worst.
Yeah.
Can we tell Grime about the snake, man?
Oh yeah, I was just about to fucking say that. We were like, this is a few months back in Cairns at our shop. We had these two guys from Texas come in.
Okay.
Army men, you know, big hard cunts. And they walk through, and they're arming an R in the entire fucking time. They want a tattoo to kind of like represent their time in Australia.
Okay.
And Jake had like a little like boxing kangaroo that he had drawn up earlier. And
Funny.
We're like, all right, yeah, you guys should both get this tat. We ended up staying back fucking late for these guys and putting these tats on them. And my guy the entire fucking time, and Jake can attest to this. I'm a pretty gentle tattooer. I try to be. You know, it's fucking hard. It's hard with needles. But
no, I get it.
This guy the entire fucking time, it was like I was tattooing a fucking snake. He just kept hissing at me every time I touched him.
Snake. I'm a snake. I'm a snake. I'm a snake. I'm a slithery little sneaky snake.
Yeah, he was like, every time I touched the needle, I'm like, would you fucking pipe down, old rattlesnake?
Rattlesnake Jake.
Oh, rattlesnake Jake over here, just give him the piss.
Well,
you know?
I heard him hissing from my bay.
Oh, bro.
And I said, "Oh, what's going on over there?" And I think you said something to him about being a snake.
Yeah.
You said, "You're a silly little snake, aren't you?"
Yeah. I was putting the tax on him. You gotta, you know.
My guy sat okay though. He was all right.
Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah, he was all right. He's a weird dude as well, though.
Nah, I'm gonna probably cut this bit out of the podcast.
Right? Yeah, you don't want to have that in
Yeah,
there.
they'll listen. I'm like, those fuckers.
Those fuckers.
I don't know. But yeah, it is a pretty brutal thing as well, like getting tattooed. And I think it's important to try and be humane. Like,
Absolutely.
I think that's also a real good reason to get tattooed as a tattooer. Like,
Yeah, you can't trust a tattooer without tattoos. Fuck them.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's just bullshit.
It's weird, eh?
Nah, it just doesn't vibe with me at all. 0%. I don't like it. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like to really give tattoos and really love tattoos, you've got to like want tattoos. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's the inception. You want to have tattoos.
Yeah.
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 But it's also, if you're on the side, if you're willing to be giving tattoo, you need to be able to receive tattoo to know how brutal it really is.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Oh, bro.
Absolutely. How can you relate? It's completely unrelatable.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the thing when I tattoo people, like almost anywhere that I would tattoo you, I have tattoos, so I know what it's like. So
Yeah.
like, oh, sorry about this part. You know, like I know this part sucks.
Yeah.
You know, our other parts would be like, oh, it wasn't too bad for me either, or whatever, right? Like, you know, I tattoo, sometimes I'll be working on somebody, I'll be like, sorry, man, I know what it's like right here. It's like not good. You know, like, sorry.
And they like, you know, people appreciate that, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if they do or not, but like at least
You'd hope they
you know,
do.
it's not just like, oh, I don't know what this is like. Is it bad? You know, I sound like retarded, like just dumb questions. Like, is it bad here? I don't know. I don't have any tattoos.
Does this suck?
What's it feel like? Like, you know what I mean?
doing a tattoo on someone else.
What's that feel like?
Yeah.
Does it hurt? Like how much?
Weird, man. Tats.
You got a scale 1 to 10? Like where you place it? What about now? You know, like you wouldn't have any idea of all the things that are like that you want to change about how you operate, right? Like how much you're wiping.
Oh yeah.
Like what you're doing with whatever you're doing and how you're doing it. You're like, oh yeah, I remember when that person tattooed me. That fucking hurt. I'm gonna like not do that in my work. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna scrub you for 4 minutes or whatever, right? Or I'm not gonna scrub you with a paper towel. Maybe I'll put a little soap on and use my glove and lightly do it, and then I'll wipe nice with a wet towel instead of like doing that. Because like you've been tattooed for 3 hours, you just sometimes you can't handle some shit. You're like, that's not gonna make me sit any longer. Like that's ruining our session. You know what I mean? Like the time just gets eaten away into how long you're gonna sit if you're like not mindful of like how you're gonna treat the client in that painful moment, right?
Exactly.
For sure.
And sometimes, the wipe hurts way more than the fucking tattoo.
Exactly.
Especially at the end of a long session.
Oh, fucking A.
And someone who hasn't gotten a tattoo wouldn't know that.
They wouldn't have any idea. And they also wouldn't have any idea of like what that actually feels like.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they might be like, how does that hurt? You're like, hard to explain, man, but it's fucking bad. You know what I
Pretty
mean?
fucking shit, man.
It's bad, okay, believe me.
Do you want me to stab you and we can compare?
Yeah.
It's fucking gnarly, eh?
It's interesting. It's like I always felt like I gave myself to this life and this craft, so I wanted to embed myself so deeply into it. So I went about getting as many tattoos everywhere as I possibly can.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I feel like when I see someone doing tattoos and they haven't embedded themselves in this life or given themselves to tattooing, you know,
They're
like,
just interlopers.
it can be.
No, I think they are. They're not really. It's like they've dipped one foot in the pool, but they're like, I don't want to really swim. I don't want to get my hair wet. I just want to like cool down with my feet.
Yeah.
And make some money or whatever. I just don't like it. It's just like, it just doesn't track with me, just how you said, you know, like if you really want to be a part of it, like why wouldn't you embrace the culture all the way? It doesn't mean you have to come in and fucking, you know, obviously no offense, you don't have to get tats on your face.
Sure.
But like how the fuck are you going to be a tattooer and have like 1 or 2 tattoos, like one on your calf and one on your upper arm? Like, yeah, I get it. Like if you just started tattooing, right? Like maybe,
yeah.
but not, you know what I mean? Not somebody that's like into tattooing. How could you not have tattoos?
Yeah.
It doesn't make it just,
Or not want them, you know?
that's even a better point, right? Like when I first started, I only had a few, but it's because I had no money and I already knew I'd already gotten a really fucking shitty attitude about what I thought was good tattooing and wasn't.
Yeah.
So I was already conceited about like I would never get any work from these people, right? So some of the people that I could have got tattooed from, I was like, I'm gonna get tattooed by them because I already know who are the sick tattooers. So I gotta save money to get tattoos by the sick guys.
Yeah.
So I was already like, already before I started tattooing, I was like, okay, Marcus Pacheco, Aaron Kane, Guy Aitchison, Philip Liu, Timothy Hoyer. I was already like, these guys, these are the people I need to get tattooed by.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I'm not getting tattooed by that guy in the shop down the street. Tattoos by Cookie. No offense, Tattoos by Cookie. Probably dead. One of the first shops I went into in Arizona, probably a cool guy. I don't know. Just saying.
Yeah.
Point is, you know, like I already had an idea. So that would be, I understand maybe you
Yeah.
covered already because you don't have the funds.
Well, for sure. The want is still there.
Right.
It's
Like
just
fucking A it was. Like if
Yeah.
I had the money and those guys were close, I would already had a bodysuit from those guys already probably, you know?
Yeah, before I got into my apprenticeship, I didn't even have any tattoos, but also I had no fucking money either.
Right.
I was like spending all my money on art supplies. But yeah, I don't know. It's really, really interesting. I think you really got to kind of, fully embed yourself in this industry to really get the full scope of it and get what you want out of it.
Yeah. I think, I just don't think that it's a very honest way to kind of try to endear yourself into what tattooing is.
Yeah, yeah. It's not just it's not a job.
Right.
You know, it's fucking everything. You know, it's a culture that we've really got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's sick.
It is fucking sick.
Yeah.
Fucking sick, cunt.
Fuck yeah, cunt.
It's been an absolute honor to sort of sit here with you in Spider Murphy's and talk a bit of shit.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to? Is there any last words or anything you want to plug that's coming out or anything? Any before we wrap this up, Grime?
You know, I don't know. Thank you guys for having me. Thanks for everybody who will want to listen to this and the support that they give me through my years of tattooing. I really appreciate that. Nothing in particular, I guess.
Yeah.
I do have a new book.
Go check it out. What was it called?
It's not out yet.
Oh shit!
I'd say early next year.
Okay, so it'll probably be coming out by the time we start airing
Roasted.
this.
Yeah.
Sick.
Anyway, on that, rats get fat. Let's fucking drop it. See you guys.
Bye-bye.